I'm Complacent Badger.
I'm Sierra Kilo.
And it appears that we have a 390 difference.
That's a lot of a difference.
Yeah, let's see if we get some Halfling Master Chefs up in here.
Because I think the Smashas are getting up there. They're getting fat like I am.
Yeah, theirs is due to some high-level players. Not that you don't have them, but most of your stuff's linemen because you focused on the linemen for the first 2 seasons.
Right. And then the Crazy 8's are more normal for the league because they've already done quite a bit of adjustments for the team. They've really cut the fat.
Well, and some deaths. Deaths and injuries have kind of plagued this team this season. And we talked about it last game, kind of noting the walking up to get punched in the face thing. We'll see if he rectifies some of those moves.
Right, because he's got a solid team. I mean, the Corn Demons are not a bad team to play. They're a very specific team that you kind of have to play.
Yeah, they got a lot of flavor to them.
And kind of any of those like mid-high experience coach kind of teams are going to be a little tricky. You know what I mean? When you got a lot of frenzy on there and you got the horns, you have to make those decisions.
So, Crazy 8's able to pick up the ball, actually gunning for Moglop with that Bloodthirster, putting him down. And now we've got moving the ball, using the ball carrier as an assist for the blitz that takes the guy marking the ball out of the way and then builds the cage. Excellent move. Very good.
I like it.
Good visualization.
And that was an invisible move. That's one of those things where it's not that obvious. And it's if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But being able to see that and use your players like that is really important. And not being afraid to use that ball carrier for something other than a pair of hands to hold the ball off the ground.
Exactly.
Because all of his abilities still exist. Yep.
And one thing that might come into this game that I'm already seeing a difference is that the Crazy 8's are going to get to basically they have the benefit of movement in this game. The majority of the Orcs are 5 movement or less.
True.
With the exception of the 4 Blitzers. So building the cage over here. A trick about building your cage on the sidelines is that you don't necessarily need the left guy. If you just if you build one space closer, I know it's dangerous, but you won't need that left guy.
Right, but at least he's using his players effectively, where that back left guy is not necessary at all. So he didn't put him there. He put him. That was the guy that was made that possible because he was down off the ball, but still in a place where he was assisting the defense of the sweep from behind.
And look at that, beautifully tying up characters over here in the center, having players available for the lateral, and then setting up not only achieving the lateral pass after a full pull-through, but then setting up a partial cage.
Right.
That's some high-level play right there. That's very good.
Orcs super impressed. Yep.
Yep. Orcs kind of beating up on the Bloodthirster a little bit, but that's fine for right now. You've got some infiltration throughout the entire cage. Let's see what he does to get out of there. All right. Dodge into a tackle zone. I don't know what was trying to be gained there. So
yeah, that was the tough thing because I was just going to say that he did a really good job of keeping the ball carrier from being hit on that last turn. But now that everybody was touching somebody else, it was going to be tricky for him to get out, and I was going to wonder how he was doing that.
With that Bloodletter, man, I think the standing blitz might have been the ticket.
Right, because he would have been able just to match up with somebody and use the assist.
Yeah, I don't know if there was any assist available. It might have been just a 1-die, but the Bloodletters come with Juggernaut.
Right, which turns a both down into a push.
Yeah, at that point, when you have nobody else, that might be the best way, is just to get that guy off you. So now we have it to where the drive has all but crumbled, and the Orcs have picked it up and reformed a cage, and there is almost no defense against it. And
yeah, this game definitely got turned upside down.
I think the key here was the strength difference.
I'd agree with that.
It just wasn't able to stem the tide.
Well, he did a super good job of using the movement allowance to make that lateral and really created a good defense, but as soon as that happened, the Orcs coach made a super decisive action to mark all the players and infiltrate to the point where he created a negative situation for the ball carriers.
Yep.
Because he had to do something a little risky to get himself out of that situation because the inevitable was coming, right?
Yep.
The green tide was rolling.
Yep. The Crazy Eights had a wonderful drive that the Smashas got caught a little bit on the back foot, but with a little bit of observational skills and I dare say a little bit of clairvoyance, they were able to capitalize on basically the strength deficiency and the lower amount of players.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of that is, in confidence in your team because, he does have, Masrak does have a championship belt in his awards cabinet, but really what it comes down to is the Crazy Eights are kind of reestablishing their team now that they have a different team value.
Yep. No, I think first half was excellent for both teams. It's just sometimes you can't stop the rock.
Yep. It was a super good strategy, and it was an unfortunate that one choice made the difference. And not even that it was a choice; it was the die roll as well.
Mm-hmm. So Orcs getting the first move, already starting to take out players. So this is going to be an uphill climb for the Crazy Eights. Already at a strength disadvantage. Now they're going to be at a player disadvantage.
Right.
One of the few games that I would say the Bloodthirster is kind of going to be the linchpin. He's the only one that can kind of survive and bring the fight back to these guys.
Failed dodge.
Yep. And that happens, trying to get into a better situation after he'd done most of his other moves. So, I mean, you can't really say much against that.
Right. And the Orcs are having to pull back from engagements to create a bit of a cage and add some safety.
Yep. Well, let's see what's going to happen here. We've got a safety back here. It's good, and it's a good safety to roll,
That's
too.
a good safety, yep. The movement allowance bonus plus the sure hands in case the ball gets loose.
Bloodthirster smashing the hip, forcing the Apothecary to be rolled to a badly hurt.
So that's a good Apothecary roll, especially off of a negative movement allowance, right?
Mm-hmm. So it looks like he's setting up his cage pre-throw.
Right.
And success, so now it's in the pocket.
There you go.
That is a brutal cage to get into. Interesting that he didn't set up an assist to potentially blitz the Black Orc. With the horns that he has right there, he could have actually taken out one of those guys. Is he just gonna do? Too focused on the Bloodthirster. Had he utilized this as an assist, and he used the Karn, arguably his most star player, to get in there, he could have broken it up.
Yep, there's a distinct possibility, and I think that that's something that I was looking at and looking for. Didn't see it, didn't happen. Could be maybe not a game changer, but it could have kept the score down. It would have battled for a little while longer.
You would at least had a guy next to the ball carrier. They would have had to make decisions.
Right.
All right, so high kick with a 6. Bloodgrim gets the ball in hand, trying to dodge away, and failed dodge, but most of the moves were already made. So let's see if Bloodgrim can bring this in for a 2-1.
That'd be great. I mean, this is a fairly similar situation to last week where we had Ivan the Torval, the big guy on the team trying to be the ball carrier. Do you think that it might have similar results, or you think this might be a little bit better?
I think, Helgrim, the Blood King. I think Helgrim has a better chance at doing it now that he actually has the ball in hand. The only thing that makes the Minotaur better as a ball carrier is the Agility 2. but Helgrim has a higher movement allowance, and he
Right.
also has break tackle, so he is a destructive force when it comes to it. Unfortunately, when you opt to just do the movement instead of blitzing, his odds of getting out of there are pretty tough. Actually opting to hand off to somebody else and trying to do the pass, but with the long pass, it failed.
Yeah, not a.
I
And
mean,
that failed definitively, huh?
yep, it was a reroll and everything. That's just unfortunate. It didn't look like anybody was covering Catcher and the Avenger, so that could very well have been a touchdown had it just worked out.
Not a bad look either.
No. It seems unlikely that the Orcs are going to score just because there's a lot of presence. Everybody's kind of manned up.
Never count him out. But I think that he's in such a good position that I wouldn't risk it. I just invite it in, invite the contact, and hope for the best.
All right, so that's it for this. Crazy 8's are just going to get some hits in before the end of the game, see if they can get some star player points. And looks like they will not.
Nope, there it is.
I have to say, that was a good game.
I like that. And the score doesn't necessarily represent how that turned out. I mean, it was good strategy on both sides. I think it was just the Smashas have the more developed players right now, and I think that's what makes the difference. Now I'm curious where the was it rerolls or was it Bloodweiser Babes or what happened for the inducements?
I did not catch it. I have no idea what the inducements were. I'm going to guess rerolls. Just because I didn't notice it, and usually if I don't notice it, it's rerolls.
Yeah, but that's a question that'll leave us standing because I think that inducements are so useful, but because the Crazy 8's have had such a high value team from the beginning, that they haven't had an opportunity to get a real good feel for what inducements do what, and how useful they can be. So maybe a wizard would have been better. Maybe we had enough for the Master Chef, which could have been useful. But that'll be something that we'll go to the boards about and see what happens because it's
one of the few times that I would suggest it. I think against the strength difference, a star player might have been useful.
Yeah, interesting point. But yeah, in the fact that we didn't see them means that they might not have been as useful as they could have been. Yeah. So that might have been the determining factor.
For the Crazy 8's, there was nothing too outlandishly bad. I think you played probably the best I've ever seen you play. There was arguably maybe one or two plays that could have been done differently, but I would go home happy about this game. You played an impressive opponent, and you stayed toe-and-toe with them the entire game and almost hurt a couple of their players.
Yeah, and, a 2-0 loss wasn't really a 2-0 loss because it was by each of those touchdowns were by a very slim margin, and it was just a bit of a grind. So I don't think that it was bad play. It was just how the players made it onto the pitch.
Yep, and for the Snarltoof Smashas, I think you played an almost flawless game. You were constantly vigilant of routes. Anytime that your vigilance failed, you were able to bounce back immediately and punish any idea of ball movement. I think you played an excellent game, and just keep going and you'll have another title.
Yeah, you kept enough players free to be able to cover the field, yep, while still using your strength to beat up on your opponent. That was really well done.
Yep. Good game, guys. We'll see you next time.
Later.